Joining me is Coastal Carolina head football coach Joe Moglia. Coach, thanks for taking the time and welcome back to Coastal Football.
Hi Kelsey, I'm delighted to be back.
Before we get into anything new, I kind of want to go backtrack to your past because it raises a lot of curiosity. You were this successful businessman. What exactly was it that made you drop that and come coach college football at Coastal?
So in 2008, I decided I would step down as CEO. The board asked me if I'd be chairman. I'm still chairman of the board at TD Ameritrade. And because we had done so well, I had never been in more demand in my life. An opportunity for my own television show, books, running maybe one or two of the biggest financial conglomerates in the globe. But I didn't step down to do any of those things. Then all of a sudden I got a phone call from a group of alumni at Yale telling me at the end of the 2008 season that there was a chance the football job would be open. Would you be interested? And Kelsey, I remember saying, hey, you guys know I have a coach for 20 years. He said, we know that, but we also done a homework on this. And the skill sets that a head college coach is supposed to have, we really think you have those. In fact, you have competitive advantages along those lines. So think about it. I did. And I thought about it for about 6-7 months. I decided to go back. And I began at Nebraska, then the United Football League, and then 2012 I became Coastal Carolina.
So why Coastal? What was that process?
Dr. DeCenzo had done his homework with regards to my background, and there were a number of stories about me at the time, and he had followed those, and I just believed that he believed what I believe of myself, that this was something that I was good at. This is something I've been successful at. I've done something totally different than that as a leader and was successful in that. And I was making a conscious choice in my life when I could do anything I wanted to be able to go back to that. And we got to know each other pretty well. He believed that I was the guy. I wound up taking the job because I believed in his vision. I believed what he wanted to accomplish at Coastal Carolina as far as our future, as far as the ability to be able to educate not just the individual, but the whole person. So that's not just the academic piece, that's the social piece, the athletic piece, the music piece, whatever else it might be. So I have tremendous respect for Dr. DeCenzo, as he did for me, and that's the reason why I took the job at Coastal.
What is it exactly about football that motivates you every day?
I think, well, there are a couple things. I think the thing that's always motivated me the most has been the satisfaction I get from having a positive impact on others. And that was true the first time around as a coach with my players and even the coaches I work with. It's also true with the community, the school. There's a bigger audience per se. That's the way I felt in the business world with the people that work for me, that I work for, or the clients I work with. And that's the way I feel now coming back. I know I have a positive impact on my players. I believe I have a positive impact on my coaches. I want to believe I have a positive impact on our university and the entire community.
Why did you choose Coach Jamie Chapel over, say, Mickey Matthews?
There's only one coach that has a winning record against me. It's Jamie. And I think having watched him and played against him, I had tremendous respect for the way he ran his program, what he brought to the table, his philosophy, his attitude. And I had been in personal touch with him for probably 2.5 years. So when the opportunity arose here, him to become part of the program, he was the first, frankly, the only guy I reached out to. And we were moving up to the Sun Belt. But Jamie's a hot and upcoming coach. He's going to get a head job at a major school, and that's going to happen to him. And I had so much respect for him that I wanted to bring him in, not just as offensive coordinator, but also as our associate head coach. He had earned that. He had earned that already. And I couldn't have been frankly prouder to have him. Now, with that, he came as a very successful head coach 2 years. So when it was time to step down, it didn't go in one choice.
It's been good, actually. A lot of people ask me why leave a place where you have success, become an assistant coach. But I really believe in the program here, what Coach Moglia did, the band, the philosophy of band, and what he stood for. So, because he's so unique in college football, nobody does things the way he does it. And so, if I had a chance to be a part of that, I figure it would make me a better coach, even in a little time that I can be around him. Whether it's 10 years or 1 year, I'm gonna learn something from him. And then I want to be part of that transition. There's not a lot of times that you can get to make a move to FBS football. And to be part of that and see how he was going to build that, how he was going to lay that foundation is something that I want to be a part of and hopefully can be a contributor to as we make this jump.
You have this awesome philosophy, not only for the team, but an everyday life. And we see those letters, BAM, almost every day.
This is going to be about being a man, but a man's not some tough macho guy. A man is somebody that stands on his own 2 feet, takes responsibility for themselves, always treats others with dignity and respect, and lives with the consequences of your actions. That's in my playbook from 1971.
A lot of people hear Bam, be a man, and they just think, oh, be a man, it's some tough guy, macho man thing. But it's definitely not. It's just saying that you got to live up to your responsibilities and, stand on your 2 feet, take responsibility for your own actions.
The thing was, as you learn more about it from talking with football players, when I was in my freshman, sophomore year, was you found out there were no rules, and I was kind of interested by that because, in baseball you couldn't ride a moped, you couldn't play basketball, but, band was no rules, so that was the first time I kind of, tried to learn more about it. But it's really cool, and it's one standard. There's no, you accept responsibility for your actions and stuff like that. And I've always been interested in what people around the country are doing, like what Clemson's doing with All In, and just what different people, what their mottos are. So I've always, rowed the boat out in Minnesota, so I've always been interested in stuff like that. So BAM was definitely, cool to hear about, and it's definitely a competitive advantage for us here.
This is the way it's going to be here. Coach Caroline's not going to be for everybody. So when I talk to you about BAM, if that doesn't get you excited, you don't get a little bruise or bump, you shouldn't be coming to the school because you will not handle it.
You missed last season, but you're back like you promised
I'm
all
back,
of
yes,
us.
I'm back.
What was that like for you missing the season, and how does it feel to be back here?
I had an allergic infection reaction in my lungs that created an infection that caused mold. So I had mold growing inside my body. And I had it for about 3 years, and I just thought I'd shake it, but I wasn't shaking it. Now, the lung doesn't regenerate like the rest of the body. So let's say one of my lungs is 10 centimeters in circumference. Well, this will restrict the lung. So if all of a sudden I'm better, and my lung now is 7 centimeters, it never goes back to 10. So that's probably about where I was. I can still function with that. But if it goes on another couple of years, it's down to 3 or 4 centimeters, then I could have a very, very serious breathing and pulmonary problem. So for me, I made what I believed was a really smart decision that would have a positive impact on my health for 20 years. There's a price you pay for that. I had to give up the next 5 months. Emotionally, that's almost impossible. But you never, I tell my players, I tell my coaches, I tell my kids, you never ever make an important decision emotionally. You step back and make it intellectually. So I knew what I was doing was the right thing. Very difficult.
And I know it was really hard on him, being a coach here for 5 years, and this is kind of your baby. You've molded this program the way you want it to do, and then you got to kind of take a step back for a year. And he was really hands off the entire year. He was really trying to take care of himself.
Well, first of all, when he's telling you that he's sick, that was the main thing. Right? Okay, this sickness, what is? Is he going to be okay? Is it a long-term thing? Because you're concerned about him. And then two, you're more in surprise, a little shocked, to be honest with you, because it was totally unexpected. I was honored and really taken aback that he wanted me to do that, not being here that long. So I was very honored by that, but it was more than just concerned for him and saying, hey, you've built something. I don't want to try to mess up anything, and he was gracious and great about, hey, this is the philosophy, follow philosophy, but you got to be who you are. And don't try to be me, don't try to be somebody else, be who you are. Obviously use the same philosophy we do, and so that meant a lot in the way he trusted me to do that.
First year here, and you found out the head coach would be out for the season. What was your reaction?
I mean, that's tough, but I think football players have to be ready to adapt and adjust. Things happen, people get hurt, so it's just the next man up, that kind of thing. I know guys were kind of surprised. They didn't know what to expect, including with Chadwell coming in, being a new coach and stuff. But I think he did a good job. He took the responsibility. He definitely faced some adversity, but he did what he was supposed to do.
When somebody's sick and some of those things, you can't control it. The only thing you can control is how you respond to it. And would it have been easier if I'd have been here a year or two and people knew me, the players knew me more? Probably, sure, because then they're more comfortable with you. Because they were still filling me out, especially the defensive players, because I came as an offense. I spent the majority of my time with offense. I wasn't with any of the defensive coaches or defensive players. And so I think that was the biggest challenge. If you'd have been here a year and a half, maybe there's not as much of a transition because you're more comfortable with the players. But that's the way it was. That's the hand you're dealt. So I don't think the time had anything to do with why we weren't as successful we wanted to be. It was just, it was a huge jump, and we were learning how to play football at that level, and until you understand what it takes each week to win at that level, it's a challenge, and I think we sort of started figuring that out towards the end. Just not enough early on when we needed it to happen.
At the end of the day, he's the coach. He was the offense coordinator, then he was the head coach. So, after we had the whole spring, of acclimating him to being an offense coordinator. So I think, kind of after that, after the spring, it was fine. I don't think it was as big of a deal during the season. There's a little bit of nuances that were different between him and Coach Mobley, but I don't think there was anything to do with respect or anything like that. I think the players did a good job of trying their best, and we just didn't show it on the field at the beginning of the year, but at the end of the year it got a little bit better.
What do you think this team needs to do to compete at the Sun Belt level and get one of those bowl game spots?
You have to have a sophisticated enough strategy, but simple enough to execute. You cannot make multiple mistakes.
If we'll control those penalties and some of those foolish mistakes that nobody else forces except ourselves, then you have a better chance of being successful.
I think guys are excited this year. We know our competition, we know the teams that we're going to play, and I think we're ready.
Because we hurt ourselves towards the end, and we learn from those mistakes. If we don't hurt ourselves this season, we should be able to move the ball efficiently offensively, and we'll make enough stops throughout the game that we'll be in a lot of games defensively, because they'll keep us in games, and we'll score enough points to win some games. And if we can play together and put those two things together, we'll have a good year this year.
It turned out to be exactly, I think, what I needed. I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to be back. I'm happy to be back. I couldn't be pleased with the attitude of the coaches. I couldn't be pleased with the effort that our guys did.
The students are happy too.
I'm delighted. Glad.
Most importantly, I think he was excited. Besides that, everyone else was excited. He's back, he's healthy, and he's ready to go.
Recognizing that Hayes doing a good job, and for me, him to ask me to be a part of what he was doing, that meant everything to me.
He wasn't going to go out on that note. He wanted to come back and finish the job here.
All right, that's awesome. That's an Emmy winner right there.